so many people waiting in the wings to come and teach. You may go to an urban classroom where there are 2 teachers in the classroom, and you go to Sabsugu and we have a shortage. I'm happy that Dr. Nkansa has committed that we're going to ensure that this deployment challenge is no longer the case in the next few months.
Government is working assiduously with relevant stakeholders to produce teachers who meet the changing dynamics of the 21st century teaching profession. The Ministry of Education, through the National Teaching Council, NTC, has been empowered to implement policies and programs at both the pre-service and in-service level to ensure that Ghana continues to produce and maintain the quality teachers we need in the education transformation agenda. To improve teacher quality and their skill set, the NTC has instituted the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination to ensure that graduates recruited to teach meet the professional standards set by the regulator and that they are fit for purpose. In addition, the Ministry of Education, again through NTC, has institutionalized a point-based continuous professional development system that ensures that our teachers do not remain stale, but stay competitive and relevant in the ever-dynamic world of knowledge and skill.
You heard the Education Minister, Dr. Educhum, and the President on the occasion of the Teachers' Day and teachers receiving some congratulations and being acknowledged for all the good things that they do, the good teachers do for the country. So let's begin this conversation with our next set of guests, Dr. Christian Adaipoku, Registrar, National Training Council. He, broached the subject earlier in the week about the 10,000 Ghanaian teachers who have relocated to the United Kingdom. Reverend Isaac Owusu is president, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. Dr. Clement Apak, Abbas Apak is MP, Bolso South, Deputy Ranking Member, Education Committee, and Member Public Accounts Committee. And Richard Anyagba is the with the New Patriotic Party, heading their communications. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for making the time to join us. And let me first go to Dr. Adaipoku. Doc, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and greetings to your panelists and then entire Ghanaians, especially teachers of Ghana who are working so hard to train the minds of our future. Right.
And forgive my asking this question in the way I'm going to ask you now. That you must feel a sense of pride that teachers trained in Ghana are hot cake in the UK. You don't?
Oh, I am something. If I'm to go back to the statement I made on last Tuesday, I made it clear that in the past 5-7 years, government has instituted a number of policies to ensure that the quality of teaching is improved in Ghana. These include the reform of the teacher education curriculum framework that we used to have, improving it and bringing it to 21st century teaching and learning focus, establishing teacher standards, bringing about continuous professional development, which is so crucial to Ghanaians because a teacher's knowledge must be updated continuously to be in tandem with the modern trends of teaching and learning. Among other interventions government put in place to ensure that the quality of teachers is improved. It is based on this that in January early this year, we had a visitation from Department for Education in the UK. They came to study our system to be sure that Ghana actually is training teachers to the standard that's globally accepted. And after going through our system, going through interviews with some of the leadership of Master Teaching Council and other stakeholders in education, they concluded that Ghana is producing teachers of high quality based on the licensure exam, the National Teacher Standards, and so on and so forth. And so Ghana plus 3 other countries in Africa were exempted from the rigor of approval of qualified teacher status in the UK. That is, to be very specific, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. If you're a teacher in these countries and you want to teach in the UK, the normal rigorous nature of assessment that you need to go through to get qualified teacher status, you don't go through that now because it's expected that you have gone through a lot here in your country and therefore qualify to teach in the UK.
Right. But
based on this, they opened up to Ghanaian teachers, and then lots of agencies are across the country recruiting teachers.
Right.
I must clarify here something that the statement I made was that the data we have, 16,000 people have so far applied for qualified teacher status in the UK. Out of that, 10,000 have been issued. But that is not to say that all the 10,000 have left. So some have left, some are still in the process, some may go, some may not go. But they have been given qualified teacher status.
Right. Whatever the circumstance, this clearly, in this situation, is a danger, isn't it? How many teachers is a country training yearly? And if on the average, we're beginning to see such flights of teachers, then say even half of this number is going to leave the country every year, then we have a problem on our hands, don't we? Just like the issue with the brain drain as far as doctors and nurses are concerned.
Well, it is not as alarming as we think. And all the same, I won't say that it is not a challenge. It is. But it's not as alarming as we are seeing it. On average, we are churning out about 30,000 teachers who pass licensure examinations every year. And it is not everybody that is absorbed by the Ghana Education Service. And so we still have a lot there who will be able to replace those who may leave. But the challenge is, if they are leaving, sometimes you get experienced teachers leaving, and you need to bring people, train them to be able to get to the level that these people might have been. But all in all, it is not. There is no teacher shortage in Ghana as of now because
you said, Doc, you said this was a looming danger that ought to be kept. So what is it?
Yes, the looming danger here is the experienced teachers who are leaving. And that is our worry, that experienced teachers are leaving. And if experienced teachers are leaving, and the nation is spending so much in the training of teachers, and we are not getting anything from them, then it becomes a challenge. So the conversation at the symposium was, how does government earn or get a yield from this attrition? Because we are training a lot of teachers in the country. We are not able to absorb them. Of course, we want to see some of them go. That's fine. But we are investing so much in these people. And when they are going, we are not getting anything from them. So the conclusion at that time was maybe government-to-government collaboration to make sure that some people are taxed for leaving after we have spent our money to train them. But the danger here is getting some experienced teachers leaving the system.
All right. Please hold on, don't move yet. I will return to you. And I'd like to now go to Reverend Isaac Owusu, who is the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Christian Adepoku used to be president of NAGRAT. How do you assess this particular development? Are you looking at it from the same lenses as Dr. Christian Adepoku is doing and the Minister of Education is doing? Hello, Reverend Isaac Owusu. Oh, I understand we just lost him. Let's get him back quickly because we need him to give us his perspective because he is leading the Association of Teachers. He's leading teachers. And we want to feel what is it that is driving them. That's also important to know. Yes, Reverend Isaac Osu.
Samson, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And thank you, teachers. Thank you very much. God bless you for what you do for us.
Well, let me say a very good morning to my teachers in the country. And let me say a very good job to all teachers in Ghana. You know, the number one nation builders are teachers. So, and also let me say good morning to your panel members in the studio and my senior brother, Dr. Adepoku.
How are you processing the statistics? Are you doing them from the lenses that Dr. Adepoku is doing or Dr. Educhum is doing?
Something, you know something. For the Minister for Education, he is a politician. And certainly there is no way the politician in Ghana will admit challenges easily like that. My senior brother, Dr. Adepoku, is heading an agency mandated by law to regulate teacher professionalism in Ghana. And they deal with data. You see, apart from what the registrar quoted, that 10,000 are successful to go to UK. Samson, there are others who are already in Canada. There are others who are already in South Africa. There are others who are already in China. You see, day in, day out, any teacher in Ghana who gets opportunity is ready to leave. It isn't that the teacher didn't get the requirement to teach in Ghana, but the condition in which the teacher is working. That is what is demotivating those who are running out of the country. And to talk about teacher shortages, look, if you go to our rural areas, schools on the island, yes, of course, we agree that in terms of teacher deployment, all the big men and big women in the country, they do not want their family relatives to be teaching in these remote areas. So you go to Accra, you see a class about 2-3 teachers in one class. But when you go to the rural areas, schools on islands, a whole basic school which needs about 16 teachers, you only see 3 teachers, including the head teacher, managing class 1 to JS3.
So when the minister says we do not have shortage, what we have is a distribution challenge. You can't dispute that then.
Something, you see, nobody can tell us in Ghana that we do not have teacher shortage. If it is about distribution, what stops them? Because you have already employed the teachers. Then the teacher deployment is equally dangerous as a strategy. Because we believe that holistically, every school-going child should have the teacher standing before him or her, giving him whatever the child needs. And if we now admit that all our teachers are choked in town and in cities, then that one is equally dangerous as a strategy.
So how do we have a problem of shortage when we are training about 30,000 yearly, and if on the average, if you have even say half of that number leaving the country, how can you still talk about shortage of teachers? How does that happen?
Something we are with the teachers down here. I can tell you in authority that there are lots of schools in Ghana under pre-tertiary that are crying day in, day out for teachers. You go to the district directorate, the directors are always compiling vacancies to the regions. The regions are always also forwarding the same vacancies to headquarters. So the solution, or the one to give you that answer, maybe someone from the Ministry of Education will be in a better position. But what we know as union is that there are a lot of classrooms that is begging for teachers. If indeed we have a lot of teachers in Ghana, then government should open up and recruit these teachers and fill the vacancies. Then we can work off that Ghana, we don't have any such problem. If we have them, what are they doing? If we have people have passed through training colleges, they have passed through universities, and they are at home, you count them as teachers. Presently, what we know is that there are a lot of classrooms that is begging for teachers. And the conditions in which the current teachers are working in is not best.
Interesting perspective there. But Dr. Christian Adepoku said his major concern from where he sits is that it is the best of the teachers who we are talking about when it comes to those who are leaving, and even the UK, you know, it's okay with their training without more for them. So, Rev, I want to ask, this clearly, that aspect of the issue clearly will impact on the education outcomes if we're having the best who are happening to leave. In the course of the week, I spotted these statistics about the developments on the education front. And my heart was gladdened that in this country, we can look at the fact that the core subjects, English, integrated science, mathematics, and social studies, where people were performing poorly previously, for some time now, there's a sustained improvement. So that integrated science in 2015, you had 28.7% pass rate. And now, from 2019, for example, in fact, since 2017, they have not done less than 50%. They've done 52, 62, they've gone to 65, up to 65. Then if you take mathematics, where say in 2015, you had the performance rate, pass rate at 32.4%. If you look at that record from 2019, they have done in excess of 60%. Only 2021, they did 54.11%. Social studies, English language, very, very encouraging reports. If these trained, experienced hands are leaving, then that is the major problem we must be dealing with. Agree?
Exactly, something. You see, when you look at the outcome of the teachers' work, it is clear that Ghanaian teachers are really doing well. But the income that comes to the teacher is one that is demotivating him or her to go to UK. The teacher, let me recommend and let me acknowledge NTC for the work they are doing in terms of the teacher professionalism. But one thing that it has not come to their attention is that, yes, the policies you are bringing, the reform is good. But the income that is coming to the teacher, because if I have now globally. I can teach anywhere. And I see a colleague in China who within 2 years has been able to at least have a car of his own or her own, has a two-bedroom to lay his or her head. And I have done close to 15 years. In Ghana, I do not even own a bicycle. Certainly, if I get opportunity, sometimes I will leave. Because the income that is coming, it is not good. So that is why we are saying that until we add the better condition of service for the teachers. You see, if the teacher realizes that now I can compete with any other teacher in the world, and of course, those who are receiving the Ghana Teacher Prize, I think some of them even went to African Union and they were able to receive some awards. It shows us that yes, the policy formulators and the employers, what they should think about that, yes, once we are bringing this globalization standardized, then we should also make sure that we have equal income that will not even deter the teacher from even thinking of traveling outside the country.
Okay, thank you. Hold it, Reverend Isaac, so hold it on there for me. I return to ask what are the specifics from where you sit as president of NAT that is lacking, and what can be done to improve that situation. Now, back to the studio with my guest here, and Dr. Clement Apak, ranking on education. We have heard you many times on the issues in the education front. Can we isolate this particular situation and see how the potential it has to do some damage to our system? And as we saw, these experiences are the reason why 2020, 2021, 2022, the free SHS graduates, the only years in the past 8 years that more than 50% of the candidates have obtained A1 to A6 in all core subjects. What they need in the core grades for a student to qualify for admission into tertiary institution is A1 to A6. And this is commendable that they have done 50% A1 to A6.
Well, Samson, let me say good morning to you and my co-panelists, and to say good morning to the people of Busa South. Just a minor correction. I'm the deputy ranking member.
Deputy, sorry.
On the Education Committee.
Right.
Of Parliament. I can't start without saluting our gallant teachers who have sacrificed enormously and in the recent times at the peril of their own lives and comfort to ensure that they continue to train the future of this nation. We are all on this panel today by virtue of teachers who have taught and nurtured us from essentially nobodies and no names into persons of value, not only to our families, to our communities, but to our nation and the entire human race. As the son of a teacher myself, and as somebody who was in academia until recently, I know firsthand the value of education. And if you know the value of education, you must know the value and appreciate the work of a teacher. Something I have argued based on my own experiences in other parts of the world and seeing the way the educational systems have been set up and the way they function, that if I had a choice, the group that should receive the most recognition, receive the most remuneration, should be teachers, not politicians, not engineers, not doctors, not architects, because all of these other categories of professionals are produced by teachers. So if you look at some of the countries that we ought to be looking at for best practices, you'll notice the working conditions and the conditions of service for teachers are usually at the very top of the ladder. Unfortunately, we seem to want our teachers to give up their best, but we don't seem to be conscious of the need to ensure that they are properly motivated in terms of their conditions of service and the working conditions. And I think that is where the debate is, if you were to listen clearly to Reverend, who obviously is representing teachers and is on the ground. We will come to the figures with regards to the grading and how we have improved over time.
But that's a very important issue you raise.
No, I'm not.
No, there is a very important issue you raise about the remuneration.
Yes.
Because as the Reverend Isaac also speaks about, it appears this is the reason they are leaving.
It is.
Okay? And unfortunately, we live in a country where a politician's or a public officer's salary can take care of a teacher for perhaps the whole year.
Well, yes, so essentially what I'm saying is that we need to reconfigure because this is not acceptable. It is not best practice. And so why are we maintaining a structure that is not going to motivate and encourage the teachers to give up their best? They are doing a lot already, but we know they can do even better. So what is holding us back as a nation, as a society, in putting our money, as the saying goes, where our mouth is?
That's right.
If we recognize the role of teachers, if we recognize their value, if we recognize their indispensable
Here we
contribution,
say their reward is in heaven.
no, and that is part of the problem. In fact, their reward cannot be in heaven. Their reward must be here. They are human beings like us. They have the same challenges like us. They go to the same markets like us. They have the same expenditures like us. They also suffer the brunt of an economic downturn. They are suffering from the current levels of inflation.
So it's agreed
Yes.
that better remuneration
That is it.
will resolve this problem.
I agree.
You are moving.
That is it.
You are moving to.
Now, I just wanted to comment on some of the figures that were given and provide you a few more figures. Christian Adaipoku, the registrar of the National Teaching Council, indicated that annually we churn out about 30,000 teachers, right? And of course, we have 46 colleges of education, which are public, and we have a number of private colleges of education as well. Now, he sought to also explain and justify the comments that he made. And I think he made these comments a day prior to the World Teachers' Day. And he indicated in that comment, which was largely circulated in the public media.
It appears it was strategic, so that it got discussed at the
Well, it seems to make sense.
Yeah.
I would say it's a smart move.
Yeah.
Because that has given us a proper context.
Right.
But for what he said, the Minister for Education and the President of the Republic would have gotten away with the very flowery language that we saw them express, clearly trying to, praise themselves for a good job well done. But now we know, based on the debate that Christian Adaipoku's comments have generated, that this is not all rosy. There are serious issues to be dealt with. Now, the minister in his comments indicated that Ghana was not experiencing a shortage of teachers. And I am very happy that the president of NAT has openly challenged that assertion. Because how do you define shortage? The shortage and its definition must be contextualized. It must be based on the needs of the particular segment of society that is shortchanged as far as that shortage or lack of shortage is concerned. So if you take my constituency of Busa South, for example, as the president of NAT rightly said, if I agree with him, because this is what is happening on the ground. I have schools in Busa South where you have only the headmaster or the head teacher, a basic school, manning entire KG to lower primary, that is primary 4. So you can't tell me or the people of Busa South that there is no teacher shortage. It is not their responsibility.
No, factually, is it not what the minister said? Distribution rather than a shortage.
And
because you have them, except there are places where you don't have them in the numbers. So the president of NAT says there are schools in Accra, you go, they are in excess. And then you go to a school in a rural village somewhere, and there's one or two, and they need more.
Well, that's why I'm saying the definition is relative, because for me, there is a shortage. For my district director of education, there is a shortage. For my communities where you have a junior high school with only 2 teachers, there is a shortage. It is the responsibility of the minister to address the issue. The minister shouldn't lament with us. We should not be hearing the minister tell us that there is no shortage, but rather the issue has to do with distribution. What is he doing to ensure that when teachers are posted to Dorninga, my community, or Bachongsa, or Bedemlisi, they take up those appointments, they go there, and they stay to dispense their responsibilities. That is not our role. That is his role. So he can't expect us to accept and swallow hook, line, and sinker his argument that there is no shortage, when in fact on the ground,
what happens to
there are shortages.
What happens to us as citizens, as members of the community, being patriotic also, and thinking about where we have come from? So 100 people get qualified to become lawyers. When is it they are going to call another batch of lawyers? You see a good number who may have come from some, town or village. In the end, 90% want to stay in Accra. Nobody wants to go down there. Meanwhile, there's not a single lawyer available to provide service. That's about us too, isn't it?
Yes, I agree with you.
Because you guys have told us about the good old days, so to speak, where you are being posted to a village and you are happy about it. Even national service, you are very happy to go to a remote area. But today, everybody is trying to cut corners so they stay in the town, in the cities.
Well, I know very well that you would agree with me. The reason why this happens, and the reason why a lot of citizens are not willing to make more sacrifices, is because they know there are certain conditions of service that they ought to benefit from. They know there ought to be certain minimum provision of services to allow them to be able to take up those appointments in those areas and to be able to thrive and to do the work that they ought to do. How do you expect a teacher who is entitled to 23 different categories of allowances, and you are giving that teacher only 3 of the 23?
This happening in reality?
Well, you can ask the NAT president. Yes, a lot of them are not getting what they deserve. So when the teachers speak about conditions of service, these are some of the issues. Landy, Samson, the other issue has to do with the inertia as far as Ghana and the ministry is concerned. We ought to put in these remote rural areas the needed basic structures. We need teacher accommodation. We need to provide basic amenities, even if it is solar. And then we need to motivate them. As in other parts of the world, Ghana is not the only country with very remote areas. The question we should be asking is, how is it that in those other countries where they have remote areas, teachers are willing to take up appointments and to stay in the rural areas to teach? That is because they have made conscious efforts to put in place the basic structures and amenities to make it tolerable for teachers to go. I have argued, for example, that if we were to look at the Canadian example, before you send the teachers, or even before they graduate and they are posted, you have some agreement with them. Those teachers who are willing to take up appointments in the rural areas, government can say, well, we have put there a teacher's quarters. There is solar. We've provided some TV, a fridge.
Basic.
Because you are far from, the urban area or the nearest town, you get a motorbike, source of transportation. Then we say, look, for going there, you sign an agreement with us that you'll be there for 5, maybe 4 or 5 years. After you've done all of that, government then gives you a scholarship to go for further studies. There are even countries where teachers who take up appointments in remote rural areas. Like in Canada, we have very cold parts of Canada where nobody wants to go, where the Inuits live, for example, very cold environments. You get your salary plus half. Do you think that teachers will not go? So it's all about the conditions of service. And so if we want to be honest and sincere in addressing the challenges facing teachers, these are some of the practical things that we ought to do. And very quickly, you see, to me, there are two main issues that we ought to look at as far as the welfare and output of teachers as we expect them to dispense are concerned. The conditions of service and the working conditions. The working conditions are also atrocious. Atrocious. Samson, as you sit here, you are hosting a program. If your working conditions are not at par, you don't have the tools to execute your work, how would we expect you to give of your best? Imagine you didn't have your laptop. Imagine your teleprompters were not functioning. Imagine your producers were not available. How do we expect you to be excited and motivated about coming to host your program? And it is the same with the teachers. They don't have textbooks. Several years after the introduction of a new curriculum, the textbooks are still not available in every school. For 8 terms, government has failed to remit capitation grants. And capitation grants are the reason why public basic education in the Republic of Ghana is free. So when you are not remitting the capitation grants, where headmasters can procure chalk, attendance registers, can fix broken doors and windows, get masons to patch, cracked walls, finance sports, finance cultural activities. How do you expect the teachers to be excited about their work?
Yeah, but there's an interesting part. You see the statistics put out there. You can look at it.
Yes.
If this is what the teachers are capable of in the absence of textbooks, is it a question that there is a certain change in policy that you disagree with, or it's really about textbooks?
No, the issue is to give them the tools needed to execute their work. They are doing well. So what that then means is that if they have the full complement of the tools that they need, if their working conditions are also at par, then they will do even better. And that is what we are all asking for. So if under these conditions, we are getting this level of output, that logically would mean that if the conditions of the teacher improve,
right,
we would even see better results than we are currently.
Thank you very much. Richard, you must be disturbed from where you sit that the state, for example, there was an issue about teacher training allowance. We said, let's scrap it. Let people pay and get in there. This allowance, let them find it themselves. Nursing training allowance. We said, let's scrap it. You say, we'll restore it. And then the NDC came on a campaign and said, we will also, reverse it again. We'll bring it back. And this is state money being expended to train. We know how our nurses are moving in the numbers. And then teachers are beginning to take a similar toll,
Well, Samson, good morning to you and good morning to Dr. Park and your viewers. I think I should commend you. Every so often we'll criticize you in the media for moderating in a certain way, but I want to commend you for consistently keeping it to the issue and the comment you made off air, that if we can just take away the politics and focus on the matter, I think we'll be doing our country services. Great commendation. I think you deserve to be commended for that. The Minister for Education really framed the issue for us, and it is that we don't have shortage of teachers, but then it's a deployment issue. And once after I answer your question, it is an appeal I will make to my senior, because I've done some work in his region, not in his constituency specifically, where I found out that what he's saying is true, that when you post teachers to these rural communities, they don't want to accept it. And where I sit, I get calls from people every time that, oh, can you help me facilitate and transfer from here? I want to come to Accra, I want to come to here, I want to come to there. That's a problem. And you see, the appeal I want to make to my senior is that as a member of parliament, he's a legislator. We can look at the policy of how is it that we are trying to ensure balance and equality in allocation of national resource. I think is you can help me, Samson. I think it's Article 36 and the directive principle of state policy that says that we should make conscious effort to balance this development between rural and urban areas. So if that is the policy, then you are properly seized with a legislative capacity to make policy in that direction, that government allocation of resources must prioritize rural areas so that these kinds of development that must be there, build schools, ensure that accommodation is prepared for people when they go there, some allowances is given to them, maybe their professional development also, there's a special regime created, an incentive to drive the acceptance of postings to those areas. Okay, so that's a policy situation that as a ranking member, you have a responsibility. So not all the issues are political. It is a practical issue that we must deal with. That's why we are leaders. And by the way, Senior, you are also part of the government, part of the branch of the legislature, you know, in that trio government structure. So you have a responsibility to execute in that regard. You see, Samson, also, the issue about people leaving to pursue better economic opportunity is part of people's economic right. It is something that is been part of history forever. And so that is not an issue necessarily to say that government is doing this or is doing that. It's a question of people giving the chance. People will take a better opportunity if they can have it. So the issue is, how do we make education and teaching attractive? And it's a policy conversation we must have. I think the government has done well so far, but the practical issue that requires all of us to pitch in and just say that there has been a historical problem. People don't want to accept posting to the rural areas. And you ask a very important question. Is it something that we as citizens also must accept responsibility? Because if at the end of the day you've been given teacher trainee allowance, nursing trainee allowance, you have finished school, government has spent on you. In fact, one of the motivation for paying those allowances is that you will accept postings.
Exactly.
Okay, so right now, the teacher association groups and all of that should not be looking to government. They should be looking to their group members and asking, you accepted to take those funding?
I think there's a great deal of fairness in this particular commentary. And as citizens, we must also embrace that, and so that we don't have these sections of society, you know, hold government to ransom all the time. That your training is being paid for, and immediately you are done. You are not even waiting for a day. You are looking for the next ticket to go and give that service to another country. That's unfair.
Yeah. So I think that we should look at it, and how is it as a people we can resolve this issue. It takes a whole village now to look at this issue. Let's not apportion blame. And I think the minister was candid and honest in saying that our problem is not necessarily the numbers, it's the acceptance. And I'll tell you, I have seen it. I have seen it firsthand. I have videos. There's this organization I'm associated with, CDS Africa, has an initiative. I think we had a chat with the minister about this. Went to the Upper East, Northern region, Upper East, Northern region, and Northeast. And what audit we did shows that we have a school where there is only 2 teachers to manage from in some cases, kindergarten or primary to primary 6. And they are torn between, the classes. There's a class we see where the two, because there's only one teacher teaching about 3 different classes, they're all in the same classroom. And other classrooms are abandoned. So the point is a situation where we have to look at ourselves and look at the teacher associations and say, what can we do? What are the interventions that must come? And so perhaps as members of parliament, we can look at specific interventions that we can bring to ensure that we are able to ensure that teachers posted to these rural communities can go. I agree. that we have teachers, but then they don't want to accept posting to certain places. And I don't begrudge them, but I'm only saying that when the state has spent on you, you have an obligation to the state to accept the postings that you are given to do that national service that you've been paid to obtain education for. So I think that the issue must be a social conversation, and we find solution, not a partisan conversation.
Right. So, Dr. Christian Adepoku, fair to require of the teacher to also give their fair due to the state that invest in their training. But the question that arises is, make it a bit tolerable for them. You agree? Are we doing so?
Yeah, something. For teacher motivation, it is always a challenge. It has always been with us as a country. And I think the attrition rate, even though teachers going out can be termed a bit by improving their conditions of work and then their conditions of service. However, it's clear that we cannot really challenge, when it comes to competing with the advanced countries, it has always been the challenge. UK will always outmuscle us in terms of teacher recruitment and so on if we are to pay. I don't know how much you're going to pay. Can Ghana pay £2,000 to a teacher to be able to retain that teacher in Ghana? That's a question we have to ask ourselves. And with Brexit upon UK, a lot of the other European countries are leaving. And so we have turned their attention to Africa for the needed manpower. So these things are going to be with us, and as a nation, we need to have a conversation around it. But going to the challenge of getting teachers retained in the rural areas, I've been in the system for a long time. I know a number of interventions that have been put in place, but they have not been successful. For example, there was something that was sponsored by government of Ghana and Global Partnership around 2010. And it was on trained teachers program, where we go to the rural areas, we take people who have a little education but not qualified to go to maybe college of education or university and give them further training. When we train them, whilst we are training them, they are still in the rural areas teaching. And then when they finish, they are expected to retain them there. Whenever they are able to finish, they get a diploma and they know that they are now regularized. The next 1 year or two, they leave. The government of Ghana has also over the years introduced what we call a study leave program for teachers. And in the study leave program, if you are a classroom teacher, 5 years, you qualify. But if you are in the rural area or deprived area, you are supposed to get a study leave within 3 years maximum. There are so many things that the government continues to put in place. But unfortunately, it's not working because people see that the challenge of living in the rural areas is not limited to just accommodation. It's not limited to just monetary issues, but a lot of infrastructural issues. Where I talked upon my completion of college, I had to walk about 3-4 kilometers when I alight from the town to my village. And to be able to get a car back to Kubase, I had to wake up around 1 a.m. to go and sleep somewhere. I mean, these are difficult challenges that a new person coming to the system, if you send the person to that area, will know what to say. It's a challenge, and it's not only in Ghana. Honorable Park, I respect to you, Honorable. In Canada and all those places, they still have those gaps there. They have a lot of incentives there.
Yes, but Doc, some of the teachers who are leaving, they are leaving to rural settings in these other countries. They are leaving to places that the conditions may not be exactly different from what you have in your rural settings in Ghana, correct?
Of course, but if a rural Canada, of course, cannot be compared to a rural Ashanti or North, or it cannot be compared.
Right.
And so beyond that, the remuneration there is also highly competitive compared to Ghana. So definitely people will go.
Especially when they hear about the amount and they quickly do a configuration conversion into CDs. Oh no!
After that one, over the years, even before the this exemption was given to Ghanaian teachers. Ghanaian teachers were going to the UK, they were going to Canada, they were going to the US.
Yeah.
But I think now with the relax of the rules, it's making it easy for people to go.
All right.
And that is what is happening. So I think government attention should be focused towards, one, making sure that we continue to train more. Two, making sure that we incentivize the teachers as much as possible to stay. And then three, making sure that those who are going are also levied to support the training, because government is spending so much in training.
That's
and
right.
So if we are training or going, we need to find a way of making sure that when you go, you also bring back something to the country.
All right.
The last one, something. Let me say that when it comes to the rural area deployment and so on, over the years it has been a fight. If you have heard about teacher rationalization before, when I was Sagat president, we were fighting this. Government has always made it a point that they want to rationalize, but they are not able to do it because our collective agreement makes it clear that if you are married to somebody and the person is in a city, you have the right to apply and join your spouse. And so people capitalize on this, and every time people are leaving, you go to a typical school in Accra, a class that's supposed to be handled by one teacher, you can have 3 teachers handling it. You go to Busa area where Honorable is coming from, a class that is supposed to be handled by 6 teachers, maybe you have 3 teachers. That is the kind of situation we have found ourselves in over the years. Radical measures must be taken to make sure that maybe we minimize the impact.
Thank you very much, Dr. Christian Adepoku is Registrar, National Teaching Council, and we'll hear the last word from Reverend Isaac Owusu, President, Ghana National Association of Teachers. You were about also to outline some of the solutions to reversing the looming danger. What for you will be top of your list?
My members want immediately is to see an improvement in their working conditions and the condition of service. You see, since 2009, in our collective agreement, government is supposed to give the teacher who has set posting in the rural area 20% of his or her salary. Something if a teacher takes maybe 3,000 Ghana cedis, what will be 20% of 3,000 Ghana cedis? And since 2009 till today, that we are having this program. Successive government and government in power today has not been able to implement it. Just last year, a teacher who worked on one of the islands in Kashi West, the month ended and he went for his salary. He did some shopping. On his way back to his house, the boat he was in subsided. And the teacher passed on. A very young teacher. You see, so if a teacher can work in Ghana close to 30 years, and then this teacher is giving 10,000 Ghana cedis as a strengthening guarantee, there is no way if a young teacher sees that my senior, who has worked for 30 years, some 40 years, and they are giving 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. When we know that even this amount that I'm mentioning, it is somebody's per year. It is somebody's weekly disabled allowance.
In respect of the top up for accepting a posting to the rural area, are you saying it has not been implemented at all, or it is done?
At all, since 2009 till today. And our current collective agreement has expired August this year.
What explanation has been given for the non-implementation of such a sound policy?
You see, when the parties agreed in 2009, GES claimed that it was difficult to define rural areas. Yes. So in the 2020 collective agreement, now there was a clause that the teacher unions, together with Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and GES, will set up a committee to now go around the country to identify different areas. The committee was set up last 2 years, because we started implementing the new one in 2020. Last 2 years, the committee was set up till today. Till today, the committee's report has not been given to the teacher union, let alone to implement their recommendations and findings.
That's obviously unfair to you if we cannot tell which is a rural community and we have to set up a committee to do that, and even that we are not getting a resolution. Then I think leadership also ought to sit up as far as such matters are concerned. I'd like you to state maybe one more point, and then we can take a break here.
Then I think finally, the working environment matters. If you post a teacher to a place that there is no accommodation, there is no potable water, the person cannot even make a phone call to raise his or her family. Some of these things demotivate the teachers from going out. So that is why we at NAP, every year when we are celebrating what teachers do, at least we also do something. This year we went to Kwakubusia in the Western North region, the district, to put up 2 classroom pavilion for KG children. You see, so, and then I also want to admonish the Minister of Education and GS that if it is teacher deployment that is the problem, once they are able to identify it, God willing, next year by this time, we will still be discussing the teachers matter. And we are expecting...
But Rev, you are not suggesting that if you are posted to a place where there's no easy access to potable water, it means that place should not have a teacher, because the people who live there, they are surviving. They may, so you two must find a way. Some sacrifices, is that not it?
And I don't know any profession that has sacrificed more than teachers in Ghana. Something. Where do you see a man and his wife having a small cottage, and this family decides to train their children? Certainly you will see a school there. We have where you can locate a school, you cannot find a police depot or a clinic or chief commander. So when it comes to sacrifice, no profession have sacrificed the teachers in Ghana. All
right. Okay, thank you very much, Reverend Isaac Owusu, President, Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. We'll take a quick break, return to look at the issue of dialysis.